Go right ahead. Somebody's got a mic. Please go ahead.
Hey, Tom. See this on?
Yeah.
Hey, Tom. Thanks for joining us today. That was a very inspirational and eye-opening presentation.
Appreciate that.
My name is Chris Ranking with JB Consulting. I'm a partner, and I'm going to change gears on you a little bit.
Please.
And ask a question submitted by Lori Christopher.
Mm-hmm.
What's your perspective on the current stimulus package and the impact it'll have on our global economy as we prepare to overcome the debt we will incur for future generations? And did you have input in the process?
So what's my view on the stimulus package? Well, you know, my general approach is that I'm for startups, not bailouts. That's really been my motto. And so I've gotten in a lot of trouble because I've written, you know, hey, let's open our borders to the smartest Indian, Chinese innovators. They'll come here, start companies, great jobs. That's another kind of stimulus. I wrote the other day that if people are intent on spending $20 billion on bailing out General Motors, why not take that $20 billion and give it to the top 20 VC firms around the country and just say, seed it with the best energy, technology, IT innovators you know. I bet we'll get a lot more jobs out of that over the long run than giving it to General Motors, which, if you'll pardon me, I think is the greatest wealth destruction machine God ever invented. Okay, so so that's my bias, I will tell you. That said, I have to take seriously what economists say, which is that, and you all know this because we're all living here in the same country in different communities, the drop-off in demand, in sheer demand and consumption, has been precipitous. I was talking to Michael Dell from Dell Computer the other day, and Michael told me that, like overseas in countries like China, I mean, it's like somebody flipped a switch, you know, and demand just went over a cliff. And without some kind of Keynesian stimulus, simply to gin up demand, we could be in some very, very serious trouble. And so I have to take that very, very seriously. At the same time, the stimulus did something really important for those of you in the green business. Because anyone in the green, solar, or wind industry knows that industry pretty much ground to a halt in November. Because it's an industry that was really built around tax credits. Basically, you got the tax credits, you partnered with a Morgan Stanley or a Lehman Brothers or a Goldman Sachs. They gave you the funding, and they took the tax credits to offset their earnings during that year. And so it was a very good system, and it funded huge amounts of wind and solar around this country. Little problem. When Lehman Brothers disappears and Goldman Sachs has no profits, the tax credits are useless. And they became useless. And as a result, the wind and solar industry in this country basically ground to a halt. The stimulus replaced Goldman Sachs and Lehman Brothers with the U.S. Treasury. You can now monetize your tax credits ahead of time with the U.S. Treasury, and it has revived the whole wind and solar, and I think renewable industry in this country. So that's been a very good side, you know, to it. So, you know, I think like all these things, there's no perfect answer. There's no right answer. We're all kind of making it up as we go along. I know the government is as well. We haven't been here before. You know, we really haven't been here before. And so I have a lot of sympathy for that. I don't have a lot of time for dogmatic ideologues on either side. You know, we're going to have to kind of wind our way through this, and you just have to hope we do it in the wisest way possible. I would just say one thing, and I am writing about this for actually tomorrow, which is that it does seem to me we've gotten away from the core of the issue. And the core of the issue are the toxic subprime assets on the balance sheets of all these financial institutions. And I don't know what happened, but we've gotten away from dealing with that problem. And my view is that if President Obama isn't working on that problem 24/7, he's working on the wrong problem. Because until we take those subprime assets off the balance sheets of these banks and create a market around them where people will buy and sell and trade them, I think this problem is going to be with us, and our financial system will be hobbled. And your financial system is your heart. It pumps blood to your industrial muscles. And if the heart isn't pumping, none of you are going to thrive or be in business. So I think we really got to get back, to dealing with that core problem. And somehow we've kind of got away from it. People say, well, if the government overpays for those assets, then the bankers will make off like bandits. If they underpay, well, then you'll weaken the banks even more. And so my attitude is, overpay then. I mean, you're worried that the taxpayer is going to get hosed? We got hosed a long time ago, okay? If we're going to own Citibank, which we now own almost half of, let's get rid of these assets. So I think we got to get back to that core. It's a little off the stimulus, but that to me is the core question. Who has the next microphone? Please, yeah.
In reference to your last comment about your suggestion of giving money to VCs instead of bailing out the auto companies, many of our participants today are involved with startups. What is your outlook for new ventures given the global recession? And secondly, do you see new sources of capital for ventures on the horizon?
Good question. It's a really, really hard to know, what is going to be the market. It gets a little bit back to the stimulus. What the stimulus has done by creating huge government programs around smart grid, around energy efficient homes, is created an artificial market, in the best sense of the word, I would say, for people in the green industry area. So if you told me you were in a different area, I would say I'm not sure where the market is. But there will be a market in green power. There's no question about it. Everything from smart grid to more energy efficient homes. There's billions of dollars of government stimulus that has gone into these areas. And I'm not an expert on it, but there are plenty of experts who can tell you exactly where the money is. And I'd be thinking about tailoring my businesses right now, at least for starters, to those markets, where I'd be studying that stimulus bill, the energy section, very, very carefully, because it is a mother lode. And it can, I think, bridge the green industry from one side of this recession, hopefully, to the other. So I do believe, unlike some other industries, there will be opportunities there. And as far as sources of new capital, again, beyond the government, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. Unless you clear up toxic assets off the bank balance sheets and banks get back to doing what they're supposed to do, which is lending innovative entrepreneurs and small businesses money, then the money's not going to be there. The money's either not going to be there for you or for your customer. And that's why we've got to get back to attacking that problem. Who's got the mic?
I'm Yum Arnold with Leapfrog Services. Good morning. This question was submitted by Patrick Gall, and it brings us back to hot, flat, and crowded, where you note that the last major breakthrough in clean energy came in 1957 with the opening of the world's first central station commercial nuclear reactor. So the question is, as you talk with GE and other energy leaders, what is the single most exciting opportunity that you see on our horizon for the next major breakthrough?
That's a very good question, and I don't think there is a single one. I personally don't think we've kind of found the Holy Grail yet. Whatever it is, I think it'll be something beyond conventional solar, beyond conventional wind. It'll certainly have to require some breakthrough in battery technology, because battery technology is so critical for renewables. So you can store that power when the wind blows at night. You can store that power when the sun shines during the day, and use it, in opposite cycles. But my view is that we still haven't found it. I think it's out there, though. It's in one of those 10,000 garages. And that's why I keep saying, to me, the most exciting thing is creating that ecosystem that will nurture that. But I don't think we've found it yet. And I don't think any of the existing technologies that I've seen, at least right now, can give you the scale of what we need unless we really think about them in totally revolutionary new ways. So I'm still focused on getting those innovators out there and see what they come up with. Was there one more?
Tom? Okay. My name is Sid Elliott. I'm with GRA, the Georgia Research Alliance, and welcome. Thank you for being here. And I have a question this morning comes from David Cross.
Mm-hmm.
Please explain hot and crowded, because at 30,000 feet, all I see is trees. When I drive to another state, there's 50 miles of trees in either direction. As for hot, exactly how many cars were there at the end of the last ice age?
Mm-hmm.
Are we being too narcissistic in our view of the world?
Right. Well, it's a perfectly legitimate question to ask, Of course, the world moves from ice ages to warming periods and warming periods to ice ages because of that natural variation that I talked about. And that natural variation is triggered by the sun. The sun is the heartbeat of our climate system. But that doesn't mean we can't interfere with that heartbeat. It doesn't mean we can't make a warming period a lot warmer, or we can't make a cooling period a lot less cool by what we do. And sure, from 30,000 feet, it may look like, there's a lot of trees out there, but there's no more trees. There's nowhere nearly as many trees as Mother Nature bequeathed us, and as we're here when we arrived, and as we'll sure as heck want to leave for our kids. Remember, 20% of global warming today, 20% of global CO2 emissions comes from the burning and clearing of forests. That's more than all the CO2 from all the cars and trucks in the world. So when you look at it from 30,000 feet, it may look like there's still a lot of trees out there. But when you look at it from ground level and you look at the trend lines going forward, there's nowhere nearly enough. And that's really, if I could conclude, what I'm really trying to do is, when we grew up, we had a space race with the Soviet Union. We had a space race. Who could be the first to put a man on the moon? And there could only be one winner in that race, and we won. What I'm actually trying to trigger is the Earth race. Who can be the first to develop the clean energy technologies we need so men and women can stay here on Earth? That's what we need today. And so what I'm trying to stimulate is that Earth race between America and Europe, Europe and China, China and India, India and Japan, Japan and Brazil. Because if we're all competing for the next great industrial revolution, ET, there's a chance that we will all win. Because unlike the space race, it's only if we all win the Earth race that we really have a chance, I think, to have those technologies at the scale we need so men and women can stay here sustainably on Earth. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.